You don't have to lose hair. God gave us all a full head of hair, and we need to celebrate it. Hair is a big deal, by the way. I didn't know it till mine started falling off. Right. Seeing too much flour, so I'm just going to take this off, put it over here. Without further ado, everybody, please welcome to the show the one man who can reverse balding, I hope. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm right. Muli Musyoka, trichologist, and Lilian are here. Please welcome to the show, everybody. Come. Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
You guys look nice. Come over here.
Thank you.
How's it going, Lilian?
It's going well.
It is a pleasure to meet you.
Nice to meet you too, Kobi.
Have a seat.
Thank you.
Muli, good to see you.
Good to see you
Pleasure.
too. Yeah, thank you.
Kisses
so
all over. We love here. How are you guys doing?
We're doing well.
Fantastic. I'm sure you heard me complaining about my own issues,
Yeah.
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Yeah. But I think let's start from the very top, get to know you a little bit. Muli, you're well known in the hair industry. How did you get in there?
Actually, I got into the hair industry by accident. I went to study hair. I was going to college to study, or rather to train in modeling, and back in 2006. And someone asked me, a lady who is my friend today, she said, why are you coming to study modeling? You can do hairdressing because it's something you can do with your own hands. And then later on, you can do those other things that you want to do. Yeah. And that's how I got into hair. Worked in a few salons and then moved to work for a big manufacturing company. Then I started traveling across East Africa, training hairdressers on how to understand hair and the product and how the two should interact. Okay. Then I realized people were losing hair and it was really hurting how they felt about themselves, and nobody understood or seemed to understand how to fix it. Yeah. And I said, then I am that guy who should get the solutions to the problem.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Now we're going to dig deep into the problems just a bit, but Lilian, of course, as a woman, hair is a big deal to us, isn't it? What is your story, love?
Well, I'm one of the people who grew up kind of like on weaves.
Yeah. Like me.
Yeah, like you.
Yeah.
And you know, you get used to that look. It looks very beautiful. It looks very attractive. It's very convenient. And I stayed with weaves off and on, and for about 5 years. Then I began noticing that I was developing a bald patch.
Wow.
A receding hairline on the, all over the front.
Okay.
Yeah, and it continued, and I realized it's not growing back. Yeah. That's when I went on Facebook and I decided, wow, maybe I need help. And that's when I got in touch with Muli, and he was just starting off.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, one of the things, and I think men need to understand this before we delve into men, weaving, what they do underneath the hair is that they shuka, and they do it quite tight, and then they shona. And we're even going to show, we're going to show a demonstration of how weaving is done. But what that does is that it pulls, because even I started noticing it, but then you're like, let's shuka it again, it'll grow. Muli, why do women specifically lose hair?
There are quite a number of things, and you've spoken specifically about women, but the most common form of hair loss amongst women of African descent is what you're talking about. We call it traction alopecia. Yeah. We also call it self-inflicted form of hair loss, because it's either done through dreadlocks, which are very tightly manicured, or weaving, that the cornrows are very tightly put together so that they look neat, or braids. When I got into hairdressing, I learned that women would have braids for 2 months or 3 months, and then they'll go and do repair and on the front. And the hair that is right next to the face, we call it the baby hair, because it's a transition between the terminal hair coming to the vellus hair that is on your face that we cannot see. So there's a line which is very soft. So if you pull that hair tightly, then because hair is hooked inside like this, we have some hooks, so that's why when you pull out the hair, it feels a bit painful. If you continually pull the hair, then you dilate the skin and you pull out the root, what we call the hair follicle, which is the living part of your hair strand. The moment you disconnect that, then you do not expect hair. You lose hair permanently. Right. Unfortunately, so many women are losing hair like that, and then they see their friends on Facebook or in other groups saying, no, I lost hair like that, and I applied 1, 2, 3, and my hair grew back. Right. Please note, after delivery or post-pregnancy, women tend to lose hair, and majority of the hair falls from the front. that hair will grow back because the hair follicle has not been damaged.
Okay.
Unlike what happens during traction, during weaving, during braiding, or manicuring.
The follicle can die?
Yes, you can actually disconnect it.
Really?
Or if you have an autoimmune condition where white blood cells are attacking your own hair follicles, and the follicle can actually die. And the moment the follicle dies, then the body does not generate new hair follicles. We are born with 5 million hair follicles all over the body, and about 150,000 of that is on the scalp.
Okay.
So 1% of the hair follicles lose hair every day, and that is replaced because the hair goes through a cycle of growing, resting, and shedding, and then it is replaced. But 1%, that's why when you comb out the hair, up to around 100 hair strands every day, they shed off, but then they are replaced.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, I think it's important at this juncture we also talk about men, because I think it's a different, there's no man who's weaving or braiding or that kind of thing, but men also go bald, they also experience hair loss. Talk to us about men specifically, Muli.
But when we started treating hair loss, I think 4 years ago, we saw 98% women. And we started talking about what we're doing, and I'm happy to say that we're seeing now a 70-30 percentage share, that we're seeing more men coming for treatment. Mostly what we see with men is balding, genetic hair loss. And please, you don't need anybody in your family to lose hair for you to lose hair in a genetic manner.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
You know, people come and say, no, but my father has hair, my mom has hair. How can you say I have genetic hair loss? How we identify hair loss is first, how is the hair loss manifesting? Then we go a step further and magnify the scalp and look at other things, we call them clinical features, that will completely and most certainly tell you what is the problem. Because hair loss the hair is just like the body. We lose hair to very many different reasons. So every reason has to be analyzed, diagnosed, then we get a prognosis and we say, this is the formula of treatment that we want to put you through. So mostly we see men who are balding. Then secondly, we're seeing also a lot of men going through something we call folliculitis or pseudo-folliculitis, where men would tend to shave their hair very clean, and particularly maybe at the back or on their beards. They shave the hair or they cut the hair very close to the skin. So when the hair starts growing, because our hair is curved or it's curly, then it pierces back into the skin, it gets itchy, they start scratching, and then they introduce a bacteria we call staphylococci. So that bacteria, it has, like the name suggests, it has staph. So it will be pimples that have parts and all that, and it can be really itchy. And to a bad extent, white blood cells then also start attacking those hair follicles to kill them, so that the area, that particular part of the skin stops being infected.
Right.
So what happens is that causes permanent hair loss. So then that has to be treated, and then we advise then how do you handle that. So we are also seeing men losing hair in patches because of stress-related issues we call alopecia areata.
Okay.
Yeah, so there are quite a number of things that lead to hair loss. The key thing is step into someone who understands what's going on, and then they advise you and you quickly fix it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, Lilian, for me, when I started noticing that I was experiencing, I had 2 bald patches on these sides. And you know what happens? You literally just go into like a small depression.
Right.
Because it seems that there's no solution.
Yeah.
And if there is, it seems like it's in America, right? And in Kenya, it's like, okay, I'll just cover it with a wig, a wave, and you just keep covering it. But at some point, you must have said, no, I want my hair back, right?
Yeah, from having a weave for, just to look beautiful, when I could take it out and put on braids and have my hair out, it now became a necessity. I had to have my weave to cover up the bald patches.
Right.
And so, of course, and then people start asking you because they start noticing, and then you go to wigs, and you sometimes want some liberation.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yes, it takes a toll on your self-esteem, because, I mean, hair is definitely our crown and glory. Yeah, so I went through issues. I really went through some sort of mild depression, actually big depression.
But when you find a solution, it's the most unbelievable. Thank God for the internet, right? There's solutions all over the internet.
Yeah.
And that's how you met Muli.
Right, that's how I met Muli. Yeah.
All right, so when we come back, we're going to talk about what trichology actually is, what the treatment entails, and the hacks that are out there saying that they can do what you can do, Muli. All right, that's important as well. All right, so as of course you ponder all of that, if if you are going through hair loss, remember, we will connect you to Muli and his great team on our social media platforms. All right, log on to Better Living KE where we live. For now, as we take a quick break, let me teach you something through Did You Know about what follicles are and how hair actually grows out of them. Take a look at this. Yes, we are back speaking, of course, about hair loss. Remember, please, you can join the conversation on our social media platforms. Hashtag NTV Better Living is how you can do that. We are here today with Muli, who is a trichologist certified in East Africa, and with Lilian as well, who was a client who's very happy indeed. We're so happy you guys are here. What is trichology, Muli?
Trichology is made up of two words. Tricho means hair, and ology is the science behind hair. Okay. So trichologists are people, you can have any other background, mostly are people who have paramedics or medics, and people who have cosmetologists who have an history in the cosmetology industry can study trichology. One thing that I must set clear, trichologists are not medical doctors.
Okay.
So when I studied trichology and I realized that there are surgical procedures I would want to be done, then I had to partner with doctors who are legalized to do that. Now, a trichologist studies hair and the hair root and how it interacts with the body intensively, because your hair is a barometer of your health. Any changes in the body system, you drink too much, you smoke too much, if your eating habits are wrong, your hair will tell us. If you're sick, your hair will tell. If you do very strong treatments to problems like chemotherapy or you're on strong medication, or you have thyroid issues, your hair, or you have deficiencies, your hair will definitely tell us.
Right.
So it is very important that when you're losing hair, first, before you start shooting in the dark, understand what is happening and what is the best way then to fix it. And the way you do that is by sitting with a trichologist, and then they go through it, they give you the options to treat it, and then you can have that treated.
Okay.
Yes.
So Lilian, what did you find when you went scouring Facebook and you ran into Muli and trichology? Did you even know about it?
No, I didn't know. It just came up on my Facebook.
Yeah.
I think he marketed himself pretty well, and he was just starting off.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was one of his first clients. So when I walked in, he examined me with a surgeon, and he told me, this is, your hair follicles have fallen off, so this is irreversible. I mean, you can't apply anything. You need transplants, a transplant rather. So I went. We booked an appointment, and they told me to come. And then they had to shave just a strip of the back of my head. Apparently, that's where the healthiest hair on your head is,
really?
at the back. Yeah,
okay.
And it depends on how much hair you've lost. So they'll assess, and so they shaved it off and shaped it. So
So it's stylish.
It's stylish. Yeah. And so, of course, like all operations, it was painful, a bit painful. But they put local anesthesia, so it's just for a bit. And then the whole operation took like about, let's say, a day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And it was a pleasant experience. The guys were fun to
But your
talk
hair
to.
is back.
Yeah. Actually, I
hair's
had a
back.
big afro. I just cut it on Monday.
I know,
yeah,
I
cut
saw
it.
you. Yeah,
it
your
was a big
was
afro.
proper
yeah,
afro. Yeah,
yeah.
the 70s look.
Exactly.
It looks beautiful. I'm glad you're off the weaves now too.
Yes, and thank God, natural styles are back.
Yes.
Yeah.
Natural,
The ragged
natural
look.
is being embraced
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
Thank God we're going back to
Yeah.
our roots,
Yes,
right?
yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
But I have to say this. The moment that I heard that trichology actually involves a certified surgeon and it involves surgery, that must have shaken you a little bit. Yeah. And I'm sure you have to, you do have a process where you have to explain this to patients, Muli.
Yeah.
Talk to me about this.
You see, Kobi, any level-minded practitioner in the health industry, and even motivational speakers will tell you, do not engage a patient in any treatment until they are psychologically prepared.
Right.
No matter how simple or how small the procedure appears to be. One, it's that when we sit with the patient, we do the analysis and we realize that they have to do one of the many therapies that we have, because we're doing stem cells, which is the latest therapy in hair restoration. We do platelet-rich plasma, and we do other things like we do transplant. We take time with the patient to completely explain, what do you expect? How many days do you need to take off? Because you need to have like 3 to 4 days off, and I'll explain why. So we intensively take the patient through the procedure, because other than just the day of the procedure, the shaving, telling a lady we will shave your hair, you really need to prepare them psychologically that you will cut off their hair. Maybe they've grown their hair for 6, 7 years. So we take time and ensure that they fully understand, and then we get into it. Having said that, hair transplant is a very superficial procedure because your hair grows only 2 millimeters deep into the skin, and those are just the top 2 layers of the skin. We have 5 layers of the skin, even on the scalp. So what happens is that we only do it under local anesthesia, and we use a very 0.9 millimeter punch, and that sinks only 2 millimeters into the skin, and we just secure the root, and then we collect the hair follicles. Then we come to the recipient area. If it is the front, like when Lilian came, she had lost her hair all the way to the ears, and I'm sure you have the images. And then if someone is losing at the top, then that is the area that we will work on. So we create incisions or tiny little holes packed very closely together, and then we just harvest the follicles. We place them in a fluid that sustains the tissue, and then after that we use a system of fast out, fast in. So it's just like farming, getting seedlings from the seed bed into the farm. And after that, all they need is we give them a fluid that moisturizes the skin and the follicles, because it takes up to 72 hours for the new tissue to be recognized by the body system, and then it starts feeding it with blood supply. The little holes that we punch at the back, it takes 24 hours for them to completely seal, so we don't need to do bandaging. We only apply pressure the day you're going home, because we don't want them to lose blood in the evening. The worst that can happen after a transplant is a bit of, if we particularly did the transplant at the front area, patients would tend to experience a swelling the 2nd and the 3rd day of the face, because we put a lot of local anesthesia, so you don't feel the pain when we're doing the procedure. That's normal. So it's just, there's nothing we can do about that. It's a fluid. So before the body absorbs the fluid, then you'll have a bit of swelling. Then we put you on antibiotics for 3 to 5 days, and pretty much that's what you need. Now you, of course, Lilian is not your only client. You managed to actually get one of your clients to agree to do video, to do a video, and a before and after. And I think it's important for guys to get that visualization of what you've just explained to us. All right, so guys, take a look at exactly what it means to go through trichology. All right, very important indeed that you get a sense of it. Watch. You know, it's so important that people actually get to tell you. You know, when you hear it from Muli, it's one thing, but when you hear it from someone who's experienced it, it's a whole other situation. Lilian, for you, post-surgery, your experience? Well,
first of all, I expected that my hair would grow pretty fast. And so I was very surprised that after the operation, I stayed for almost like a month without seeing anything. Actually, the hair that they had planted had fallen off, just fell off. So I went back to Muli and his team and asked them, what happened? I mean, does this thing backfire? They told me no. There's a pause phase that you have to go through as the follicles take root. You know, like a plant, you know? The top has to fall off, and then things are happening underground, you know, under your skin.
Things are germinating.
Yes, exactly. So there is no shortcut to this. You have to go through the phases. So it took like about, was it about 2 months to start seeing now the hair now starting up, the hair sprouting out, new hair growing. And you actually can have your hairline reshaped through by a trichologist here. If you have a big forehead, you can ask them to reshape it. And the surgeon who did it doubles up. He's also an artist. So he reshaped my hairline, gave me, he said, do you want sideburns? Yes, I said, I want some sideburns, you know, just a bit, you know.
Exactly.
And so, you know, I started seeing the hair sprouting out. And for that time, you know, I had to wear a wig because the follicles are still a bit visible, and, you know, the hair has to catch up the hair that was cut. So I wore a wig for about 2 months. I mean, something that you could easily take off and put on. Other people opt to just shave the whole head. And the hair soon comes back. But it's a very, very, you have to be patient about it.
That's what I was just about to ask. You
have
really do have to be patient, right, Muli?
There's no magic.
It takes time. It takes time to do that. All right, so we're going to take a quick commercial break right now. When we come back, we have a couple of questions from viewers, all right? Issues of graying, you know, that kind of thing. Children as well. I think that's something important we must discuss. All right, very, very important indeed that you guys join in on the conversation. So make sure you do that, all right? We'll be right back after this commercial break. Don't go anywhere. All right, and we're back, everybody. As we said earlier, yes, clap, everybody. Don't forget to clap. We have Muli and Lilian here, and today we're talking about hair loss, a huge subject that affects so many people, and you don't have to suffer alone, all right? And you don't have to get on a plane for a solution. It is right here in Kenya. Are there hacks who are saying that they're certified trichologists? Because I've met two who wanted to come on the show. I won't lie.
I think
I don't know if they're hacks though.
I think the Swahili put it right that chema chajiuza kibaya chajitembeza.
Yeah.
But the issue is that for you to operate as a trichologist, there are people who go and train for a short period. Like I know some guys in Nigeria, they don't finish the course and they are not certified. If you go to the International Association of Trichologists website, you will see the certified trichologists listed.
Okay.
Any industry that appears to be lucrative, you know, people think something is lucrative when they see you doing it, they don't know where you've come from, then you will of course have the threat of new entrants who would find any way to get into it. But what we're doing is working with the Board of Plastic Surgery and the Medical Board of Kenya to ensure that we have regulations into if you're coming into touching people's scalp, because it's an industry that is, I mean, people can contact infections and all that, then it needs to be regulated, that there are requirements that the board has put in place for you to practice. For you to say you're 1, 2, 3, then you need to achieve certain level of standards.
Okay.
Of course, there are many people saying, "Oh, we're doing this, we're doing that," and it's not in my scope really to. But the board, I know the board has 1 or 2, 3 people on their watch to ensure that then everything is adhered to.
We have a question from a viewer, Wafula from Kimilili, who wants to know about the expense of it. When you say surgery, when you say days off, I think it all sounds very expensive. A concern for you when you were researching?
Yeah. And definitely that was the first question I asked them when they said I needed a transplant. How much? That's the bottom line. How much?
Because we know insurance does insurance cover this?
No, it's cosmetic.
We've,
it's cosmetic.
we've had some insurance companies that refund people.
Oh.
It depends with what is happening, but ideally and majority insurance will say this is a plastic surgery, so we wouldn't really. This is cosmetic procedure, so we wouldn't really refund that. Right. To Wafula, I think the cost of transplant is majorly dependent on how much you've lost. You know, the men used to make jokes and say that if you're losing hair, it's an airport. And if you're talking about an airport, there are different sizes. The Eldoret size, you have Wilson, you have JKIS. So how big the airport is will determine how many follicles. But we charge per follicle. Really? And we tier them. The more follicles you require, for instance, if you require 4,000 follicles and above, we charge 80 shillings per graft. If you require 1,000 follicles to 2,000 follicles, we charge 150 shillings per graft.
Okay. It sounds so reasonable until you hear you need 1 million.
No, no. I think just to be fair, because we're even doing transplants for eyebrows. Yeah, and eyebrows would cost you something like 70,000, and but I'll tell you, for a hair transplant, the least you'll be looking at around 150. The most expensive we would do would be something like 350,000.
You lost. You had me at
no,
eyebrows.
And
I'm like, you do eyebrows too?
Yeah, we do eyebrows.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we do
That's
eyebrows.
Amazing.
And we lower hairlines. If, like Lilian mentioned earlier on, if you feel that you're not losing hair, but you feel your hair started somewhere, please, we are not competing with God, but He gave us the wisdom to do that. So then we can lower it and redesign it.
You know, Lilian, the reason I asked you about this is because I think men don't understand how expensive weaving also is.
Exactly.
I used to drop a huge bucket at my hairdressers. And when you look at it now long term, aren't you saving?
Yeah. I am, pretty much.
Yeah.
The amount of money that I spend on weaves and braids and all those things, you know, and it's incredible.
And sorry, not just the money, because it costed you your hair.
Exactly.
Exactly.
And my self-esteem, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So when you look at it in those terms, sometimes at the end of the day, you have to sacrifice a bit.
Absolutely, yeah. We took a survey, everybody, on this show, all right, looking to see who is balding. All right, I already admitted that I was. My 2 hairs have come back a bit. I'm using castor oil. Thank you, Jesus, for castor oil.
Okay.
Right? And so only one person in our entire crew. And we have a beautiful big family here at Better Living. Watu wengi sana ni wanati. We have so many dreadlock people on this show and naturalistas. And like Sesmo and all these guys, Kina Billy Otanga, they all have hair on their heads except for one guy. Yeah, his name is Sule, and he's the man who actually makes me look great. There he is, all right? He's the guy who... Hi, Sule.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good.
Good, all right. So, Sule, you've also suffered a bit of hair loss in your life, yeah?
Yes.
They can't see it because of your headphones. You want to take off the headphones so everybody can see? There it is. But you're still very handsome, Sule.
Thank you.
Okay, what has been your experience, and do you have a question for Muli?
Yes, I have.
Go ahead, honey.
I tried a certain product. I don't want to mention the name, and my hair came, but they were very weak. Is it the same as when you do the transplant and also the dieting? And again, will I go back to work after the transplant? Only those questions.
Good question. Suleiman, we want you back with an afro. Can you give Sule an afro?
Yes.
Fantastic.
The issue is there are 3 ways of treating genetic hair loss, because what he's going through is male pattern baldness, and generally it's genetic form of hair loss. There are products that claim if you apply these, then you will get your hair back. Now, unfortunately, those products will really never give you thick hair. They could be tablets that you swallow, or they could be creams that you apply topically. Now, one of the creams that is approved by FDA is called Rogaine. Some people call it minoxidil, and it's being sold all over the place. But the issue is that this is a very temporal solution. You use it for a period of time. Within 6 months, you will see some new thin hair strands growing. They will never really thicken and become like your terminal hair. But after some time, the body gets used to that and it stops responding to it. So then the hair loss just continues to happen.
Okay.
We call those topical treatments. They are very temporal. And probably that is what Sule went through. However, when we do hair transplant, you remember Lilian told you that we have to shave the back. And the reason being, if you've seen men bald completely, old men who are bald completely, they lose hair and then they have a band of very healthy
Yeah,
hair
like
below.
a baby. You know, the way the baby
Yeah.
as well. Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
It's because the hair above the occipital bone, there is a bone around here, we call it the occipital prominence. The hair above that is the only hair that has receptor molecule for the male hormone called DHT that causes genetic thinning in both men and women,
Okay.
which is converted from testosterone, which is another form of male hormone. We have 5 different types of male hormones. So the hair below the occipital bone is resistant to DHT. So when we harvest that hair and plant it here, then it grows normally.
Right.
And it moves with what we call donor dominance characteristics.
Okay.
So if it was gray, it will grow gray. If it was tough, long, the same
Okay.
thing. So if you go and shave it, it grows back. The other issue is about work. Normally, men who are balding, they rarely swell after the procedure because we don't do the face and we do the top area.
Okay.
So mostly, if he can come to work with the, because of course most people are conscious and you look like you have little pricks, you don't want people to ask you, what did you do? If he must take time off, it will be like just 2 days. You can just take a 2 days, or you can do the procedure on Friday, rest on Saturday, Sunday, and Monday is here shooting the show for you. And nobody will know that we did anything. So it doesn't really take a lot of time.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So looking at Sule, I mean, and if Sule does this now, he's a young man.
Yes.
Are you saying that he can be an old man with hair on his head?
Yes. What happens,
Really?
I've just gotten a patient from an Arab guy.
Yeah.
He did his procedure in London in 1986. Just a year, I was like 1 year old. And what they did is he was balding at the front. And like I said, the balding men will bald up to the occipital bone. We already know where the extent to which it will affect you. So the hair that was transplanted then is very healthy. But now he's lost the other half. So now what you're doing is fixing the other half because he still has a very healthy donor site. So hair that is transplanted is permanently there. But it does not mean that if we transplant, like for Sule, he's lost the forelock. This area we call it the forelock because we number hair loss with what we call node. We have node 1 to node 7. Looking at Sule is in around node 3. So that means we should be able to do that procedure in 1 day.
Okay.
And he will have his hair growing at the front for as long as he lives. But then there are other things we can do to sustain the rest of the hair that is designed to be shedding or thinning in future. But there are things now we're doing to ensure that other than him doing another transplant in future, there are other things that we can do to sustain, though they are semi-permanent.
Okay.
They can sustain, other than what we've transplanted, which is permanent, the remaining bit, there are things we can do to keep it growing.
Okay.
Yes.
Another question coming from Chris from Nairobi. He wants to know, are there any medical conditions that can stop you from getting a transplant?
Yes, and particularly we call them autoimmune conditions. Okay. An autoimmune condition is whereby white blood cells, we have enteropathic activity by the white blood cells, that you were born with an autoimmune condition that at some point, anything that stresses your body system, and it doesn't necessarily mean psychological stress, will trigger hair loss. Those are things that we either see them in clinical features, or we have to take a biopsy, do pathological analysis, and we find out the problem. If you have an autoimmune condition, we cannot do the transplant before we completely manage it. However, autoimmune conditions, we always tell the patient that they can recur in future.
Yeah.
The beauty is that they take time to manifest. So the moment you realize that they are happening, then we can always come back and manage them. So we stop or we manage the hair loss. So the other thing is that if someone has a very thin donor site, or they came too late to seek treatment, if you've lost so much that we do not have enough donor site to replace, because it's an issue of demand versus supply. If you do not have enough supply, now we've introduced something else called scalp micropigmentation, where we use different ink than what is used for tattooing, because what you use for tattooing,
yeah, I've seen that being done for eyebrows. Yes.
But there's a specific ink that does not shed off, and what happens is that we have a tiny machine that when someone is balding so much that they do not have a supply of hair, then we do micropigmentation that looks extremely like it's your own hair growing. So what happens is someone can't tell, but the challenge is that you have to shave your hair like every other week, so that the rest of the hair looks even with what is what the tattooing or the micropigmentation that we did. So there are quite a number of things that would make a few people not qualify for transplant, but then we have options to that.
Okay, we have a couple more questions. Looking at, of course, the side effects. Are there any side effects to getting a transplant and to going for trichology?
No, I think the beauty of most of the procedures that we do, because we have things like stem cells, and we are talking about the adult stem cells where we get them from fat grafts. And we have the use of platelet-rich plasma, where we draw your blood and segregate, get the platelets which carry the growth factor, and then we have hair transplant. Those procedures are very natural, because if it is the hair transplant, we take your own tissue, move it from the back, place it at the top. It will definitely, the body will recognize it within 48 to 72 hours. The body, what we call side effects, is the body reacting to something alien that has been introduced to the body. We are not introducing anything alien. Any medication we use is antibiotics, which anybody can take antibiotics any day, and local anesthesia, which the dentists use every other time. And you're using this on the skin. So we wouldn't really anticipate to get any side effects if the hair transplant has been done correctly. Even you can even pluck hair at the back and plant it on your nose, and it grows.
And it'll really?
Yeah, it will really grow. I
have a crazy question, and this is from me. And this is coming from the fact that we used to do weaves, right? Can I get a donor, like an Indian donor or a white donor, to donate follicles for my black head?
No, that would trigger something. There's something that was called implants. Implants meant that you go and buy some artificial hair and try to plant it. But it terribly failed because of rejection. Now, we cannot have Lilian or myself, otherwise I'll be a very rich guy, donate hair to you, because then the body would reject it. But there's a study that is going on, which is taking a little bit long than we would want it to, that we can take your own hair follicles, like 3 or 4 of them, and clone them in a lab and produce thousands of hair follicles.
This is unbelievable.
Yes, we have that study happening in Germany. We're
Yeah.
just waiting for approvals, and then we will see if it
Go
will
from
be
there.
commercialized.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Muli, where are you located? Where can guys find you?
One, we have a website, www.hairhub.org, and we are situated on Ngong Road. At the beginning, from Daystar University, Nairobi Baptist Church, there is an apartment there called Bermuda Plaza.
Yes, I know it.
Yes, so we are on the ground floor. Our office is the first one the moment you drive into the
We'll do a better one for you. We're going to put the map on our social media platforms and connect our viewers to you.
Thank you very much.
But Lilian, you did good. No regrets, right?
No regrets whatsoever.
And you look gorgeous.
Thank
We're
you.
so happy.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank
You know what, Muli, maybe I'm coming to see you.
No, you need to
Because
see
I'm
me,
not
Kobi.
patient at all. I can't
come.
wait like the way she was patient. I want hair on my head now.
Please come and
happen.
the best thing when you're losing hair, the best thing to do is not to wait and watch.
Yeah.
Is to treat it, get it understood. Because some people say I just have a receding hairline, but when they come, you realize they are thinning in the middle, they have follicles attacked, they have a lot of inflammation happening, and you have a number of things to fix.
Absolutely.
So the best thing is, the earlier you notice hair loss and treat it, the better.
The earlier the better.
The earlier
That's
the
what we're
better.
trying to say
Yes.
here. Right, so India Ari is one woman who said that she is not her hair, and we decided to take that song and make it an entire campaign. We're definitely not our hair, but we love it on our heads, don't we?
Right.
Everybody, please give it up for Muli Musyoka and Lilian, who came here to share their wonderful story. Thank you, guys. This was so informative, very interesting indeed.
Thank
And
you
it's
for hosting us.
amazing to know that there's a solution in Kenya. That's
Right.
amazing. Thank you, Lilian, for sharing your story with us. And thank you, Muli, for really great
My
information.
pleasure.
Asante sana.
Karibu.
All right, everybody. So we will leave you with that for now, okay? And we leave you with that beautiful song, I Am Not My Hair. Have a good one, everybody. See you right here tomorrow. Bye-bye.